a lot of dismissing, because that's basically what they've always been doing, is dismissing people from their company who aren't going along with the idea, the main idea, which is, you know, what I said, like they're all fantastic and that. So the people who then do the challenging tend to become scapegoated. That is just sort of slung out because they're not wanted anymore, or they're not welcome. And the way that they're slung out, if it's too early for them to be physically sort of slung out, as in the parent-child phenomena, they tend to be gaslighted, or the general story goes on, they're crazy. They're the one that's a bit weird. They're the one who's got defective mind.
Yeah, it's like emotional control, manipulation. It's like, actually, you're the problem. So it's like making the other person feel bad about themselves.
Not really. Well, yeah, that bit of it, but the message who goes out to the group is that one is a bit crazy, or, you know, so that sort of implication that they're mentally ill or deranged, or all becomes because they're not complying. So you tend to get, you know, the offspring who just go along with everything and imitate the values and the pattern, and then they're likely also to become narcissistic too.
Right. Yeah.
And go on and repeat it all. But the ones who turn around and go, whoa, you know, treat people equally, stop being so dismissive, stop being so, you know, which the narcissist doesn't want to hear. They just tune that out as soon as they start hearing all this stuff back, like, hey, you should go and see someone. There's something a bit wrong with you. That's not normal behavior. The one who's going to become the black sheep of the family, who's going to become ostracized, or who's going to be portrayed as schizophrenic, mad, weird, oddball, you know, just a failure.
Yes.
You know? So that's one of the ways that they start to respond.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good in-depth answer.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
Well, and the reverse of that is the one who tends to play along becomes the golden child. So this, you know, this is a kind of recognized phenomena with narcissistic pattern families, is you get the golden child who is given all the brownie points for being super brilliantly, what they're being super brilliant is not calling out the narcissist and advertising the basic story that they're the best thing that ever happened. They're the most superior generation. They're the most intelligent, the most talented, high caliber sort of being. So those are some of the. So this thing between golden child, the scapegoat, the black sheep, that's pretty sort of recognizable.
Sure, absolutely, that's brilliant. So let's say there's a child growing up with a narcissistic parent. What kind of coping mechanisms could be presented to the child, depending on their age, of course, to help them break the pattern, maybe to recognize, you know, children, for example, and I've seen it firsthand because we kind of semi in it at the moment, but seeing like a child grow up where the child recognizes instinctively that the behavior of the parent isn't right, but isn't in an age or in an independent or adult enough situation to be able to make that change, or to be able to rationalize it even. But there's already that kind of feeling connected with, this doesn't feel right, I don't like this behavior, but I can't do anything, and the person who is delivering the behavior is my parents, so I should be listening to them, because isn't that what we're meant to do with parents? Well, we're not meant, you know, we don't have to, but that's, as a child, that's what we think. What kind of coping mechanisms could we offer children that are in that situation?
Children shouldn't be in that situation.
No. But
so this is what there's a phenomena called no contact. No contact means that it means zero. It means removing a child from it and keeping them removed, and that is like 100%. Maybe like Christmas phone call, birthday phone call. But narcissists don't know the damage they do.
No.
And the stronger the trait is, then the worse it is. But there's a thing called narcissistic exposure, which is damaging just on impact. The messages that are received
yeah,
are basically extremely damaging, and will lead to personality problems and depression and all kind of things. So, I mean, one of the things is the lack of previous lack of awareness. This generation, this period of time, this last sort of 15 years has been really sort of groundbreaking in making more information available. But that's only part of it. So that's the education part, the explanation part. But even if if you've had narcissistic exposure, you'll be suffering from depression, wounds, hurting, and also complex PTSD. So like PTSD is like someone goes to Iraq, they're in the war, a big bang goes off next to them, they go home. When they hear a big bang, the system goes into shock again, or that's rough, rough thing. Complex PTSD is tiny shocks daily, repeatedly over a long period of time that creates a great sense of nervousness and insecurity and doubting and confusion in the person about basic values and basic who they are and their value, their worth, and how the way that the world works. Because the influence of primary carers is so great. But if you're getting 50% of that coming from a narcissist, you're getting 50% confusing information. So any parent who gets aware that is the problem.
Yes.
Because it's one of the concealed problems. It's like the problem that isn't a problem. It's like, when the president is saying, no, there's no problem. No problem. It's only sort of like a few who are doing the whistle blowing or reporting things, what's really going on. And a lot of other people who lack insight and lack awareness will smother over and cover over and apologize for and enable and all of that. So it takes, I think when anyone gets either experience of it personally, they wouldn't hesitate. Because for most people, something like no contact is too dramatic, or they believe that it will cause harm because they don't really aware of the kind of harm, mainly because it's on the emotional plane. If someone's physically abusive or sexually abusive, so physically abusive, you're going to see cuts and wounds and bruises and things like that. So there's suddenly the police will jump in and grab the kid right out of there. But when you've got nothing to show for it, and a narcissist can be very healthy looking. They can be physically good complexion, well dressed, they get charming, a lot of things. So it's not necessary that your regular public is even going to acknowledge there's a problem at all. Sure. So it's only when that there is real clarity and all of the red flags and the check boxes start lining up, and you realize, this is the problem. It's not he's paranoid. It's not that he's depressive. It's not something else. It's narcissism. And when it's that, and it's not any of the other spectrum of problems, it's that one. The correct thing is to go no contact, because it's the only one that works. Because they're so adept at manipulation. They're so adept at making sure that people don't leave their little fishbowl, their little orbit, and wounding and crippling people emotionally to make sure that they don't leave.
Sure, like an emotional control kind of thing.
It's one of the methods for emotional control. Well, it's for behavioral control, and then the emotional part follows on. I mean, if you're around a narcissist, you're going to get vampired. You're going to get your energy sucked out. You're going to be walking around on eggshells. You're going to be nervous. You're not going to be sure if your nerves are working correctly. You're not sure what to say. Especially if you've got it in your family pattern.
My God, all the boxes on my bit of paper are being ticked here.
And the other thing, as you implied, is difficult not if you're to the extent that you're unaware of it, which the great majority of people are, because they don't really feel they got a need for it, or they think it's just funny, or everyone's like that. You know, that people make excuses and kind of enable it. Is they don't think there's anything really wrong with it because they haven't had when someone is strongly narcissistic. And you've got to remember, you know, it's in the spectrum that because you're having this absolute lack of empathy for other people, they're colorblind to other people's needs, you're in the similar spectrum to psychopathy. So a psychopath will always be narcissistic. A narcissist won't always be psychopathic because they don't have necessarily the cruel component. They don't necessarily have the sadistic component that's in psychopathy. But you know, that's what people should be aware. But often it's because people equate confidence with wisdom, or entitlement with power, and power with, you know, accomplishment. If they see someone in a fancy car, they go, oh well, they must be cool, they must be good, you know, they must be on it, they know something I don't know, because hey, look, they've already got the trophy wife and the fast car. That, you know, so there's not really yet. I think there is an increasing better understanding, and also more independently accessible support means. So I'm talking about, if you go on Facebook and you put in the little search at the top, narcissism, so you're going to see 10 plus groups, you know, children, because, you know, alcoholism wasn't really recognized. Nowadays we've got AA, 10-step program. Now you're starting to get children of narcissistic parents abuse support groups. And now you're starting to get as well really actually available therapy, affordable, online. So, you know, it's like, you know, the old-fashioned libraries. Even before public libraries, it was just who had the books. Well, who had the books, so it's very difficult to get to them. And then public libraries a bit better, and then suddenly, hey, whoa, online. Well, it's happening with online therapy. So you can go to Google and sort of search online therapy, and you're going to find several that are more affordable. I mean, I'm living in the Philippines, where there's 40% of people are below the poverty line. They're living on, you know, less than $5 a day. So I think this is still under American standards, which is they don't know what it means, kind of, because it's sort of within the American sphere. But I'm seeing ones that are getting more and more affordable, you know, and that's a good step. It means that before, someone who's young and had to spend their time in their room, and they're then dealing with all of the depression and the deprivation, and they're dealing with this daily contest of hyper competitiveness with their primary carer, who's belittling them, mocking them, putting them down, making them look a failure, you know, and trying to disregard any of their needs, you know, their needs, and so on. They're in their room. They have access. They're getting more access, Childline, and those kind of things are getting more tuned to the different needs across the full spectrum.